You're listening to The Upland Rookie, a podcast presented by HuntBirdz. Come on now. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Upland Rookie Podcast. I'm your host, Will Larson, and as always, this is presented by HuntBirdz. Also brought to you by Eukanuba Sporting Dog. If you want to get everything your dog's got, then you need nutrition that holds nothing back. Check out eukanubasportingdog.com. Also brought to you by Gunner Kennels. At Gunner Kennels, they are proud to say that they've helped keep thousands of pets safe on the road, because every detail of their crate is designed and tested in real-world conditions for the invested bird dog owner. That's a Gunner Kennel. Also brought to you by Trinity Bretons, home of the Épingle Breton. I've been told that I actually say that correctly, so I'm very proud of saying the Épingle Breton correctly. But check out Trinity Bretons for your next puppy. They offer everything from puppies, started dogs, stud services, and also the Trinity Upland Academy with George Hickox. Hey, also check out Pointer Traditions. I know we're coming up in the holiday season. Pointer Traditions, if you use promo code ROOKIE15, that's ROOKIE15 at checkout, you'll save 15% off your order. Hey, don't forget your dogs. They need some loving too. New collar, leash. Get yourself a bird strap. Get your, your hunting buddy a bird strap. They make some quality gear. So check out pointertraditions.com. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Upland Rookie Podcast, episode 31. Guys, thanks so much for sticking with me, tuning in today. I have a really, really fun episode today with a really special guest that I just had a blast chatting with. And so I hope you're really going to enjoy this one. I want to take just a real quick second and just kind of off the cuff thank my sponsors. They've meant the world to me in this podcast. Trinity Bretons and Josh over there. David over at Pointer Traditions, Eukanuba Sporting Dog, Gunner Kennels. Thank you guys. Thank you for your investment into the podcast and to me. Really, really have loved working with each of these companies. And I know I do a little bit, at the beginning of every episode, and y'all probably get annoyed at that. I know. I don't love having to do ad reads and all that, but when they're companies that I really trust and believe in, I just want to give them a little extra credit, say thank you to each of them. So anyways, thanks again, guys, for sponsoring this podcast. I appreciate it. Guys, before we get in, a couple things I want to go over. Kind of thought it would be fun. I want to do an FAQ, for frequently asked questions, on the podcast here. I have quite a few questions that I get asked personally that are just very... kind of the same questions over and over again, some of the big ones. So there's a couple I have. I'm not going to go over them all today. I just want to tackle one, but in a future episode, would love to answer your frequently asked questions, your FAQs. So if you would shoot me a message on Instagram at the Upland Rookie Podcast, shoot me your question. These things range from, what kennel size for your dog? What should I do with a new puppy? What kind of training should I do with a new puppy? What should I do with my older dog? Should I what are Brittany's like? Like all different things. Again, I'm no expert. I'm no expert trainer or anything. But what I can do and what I think you guys have enjoyed on this podcast is just me sharing my own personal thoughts, my own journey with things. And so if you have a question that you'd like to ask, just shoot me a message at the Upland Rookie Podcast. I'll do my best to compile and kind of make some concise questions and go through a few of those, hopefully on the next episode. So today, I actually wanted to just tackle one. This is the question I get probably the most, is, what do you do with your dogs when you first bring them home? You have a new puppy. What do you do? What should I be doing with them? I get a lot of guys and girls are saying, hey, like, I got this 12-week-old puppy. What should I be doing? Like, gunfire, bird injury, like all this. You're frazzled. I get it. I was there, man. I was so there. My answer hasn't changed really at all. And you may have heard this on a prior episode, but I think it's worth repeating is enjoy your puppy. Enjoy your bird dog. That bird dog's coming into a new home, a new environment. You're adjusting to a new dog. It might be your first one, or I don't know, maybe your fifth one. Enjoy that dog. Kind of like kids. They're only little ones, and you have so much time and so much potential ahead of that dog that you need to enjoy them and really help work with them on becoming good citizens of your house. House rules, potty training. There's lots of bird dog things that you need to start working in there, but those will come in time. So I always say first thing to start with is just enjoy that puppy. I know when I got Gage, I was frantic. I was like, oh my gosh, he's 12 weeks old and I haven't shot a bird over him. Like, again, I was naive and dumb, and I'm sure we've all been there. But again, through help with some people, reaching out, asking questions, all that stuff, I really kind of started to slow down and be like, okay, I got time. Everything will come in time. He's a puppy. He needs to learn. He needs to develop. He needs to bond with you. So many of those things are going to come in time. So just take your time, relax. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. You're going to have a bird dog. Don't worry. Okay. You're going to have a bird dog. The help of pro trainers are fantastic. If you don't have a lot of time, once you get really into that bird dog stuff, find a trainer that you trust and send your dog off. If you got the time and, some access to birds or whatnot, invest the time. It's so much fun going through that process together. I had my dogs out a couple days ago with my son. And just with our pigeons and a blank pistol, and we had the best time just getting them out there. So working with them yourself can be so rewarding, and that's where you need to do your research. Do your research on what kind of training method do you want to do. Is it the Smith method? Is it the Hickox method? Is it this other method? Is it this? Like, compile what makes sense to you. Ask questions. Talk to people. And like I said, reach out to other trainers or friends or whoever it might be, and compile, what makes sense to you. What are the goals that you want for that dog? And so all that to say, guys, I hope that makes sense, but just really slow the process down. You're going to have a bird dog by the end of it. I didn't start, I'd have to look back at some of my notes I keep, but Gage, I was kind of all over the place with my dogs. After him, I got a little bit wiser, a little bit smarter. And, it's like e-collar work. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, should I put an e-collar on my 3-month-old puppy? No. With Wynn, she didn't have an e-collar on her until, she was 8 months, maybe 8 months old. Yeah, something like that. I really worked on, recall and that with her without an e-collar. And then, you overlay those steps. And so those are some of the timelines, things like, I was working with, crate training the dogs early on, working on, getting them to go in their crate, getting them to be quiet in their crate. Like some of those things you can work through at your house that are going to really, really pay off in the long run, where you have a dog that you can enjoy. That's not, running over your kids in the house and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I do have a buddy of mine who he's picking up his new puppy Friday. I think this coming week he's picking up a new bird dog from Best Gun Dogs, Jared Moss out there at Best Gun Dogs. And man, he's so excited. Kids are excited. Family's pumped. Bringing in a new puppy, a new GSP, and this is the same thing I would tell him or anyone. Just you enjoy that puppy. And this is someone who's had bird dogs maybe pretty much his whole life, I think, or majority of his adult life. So bird dog stuff will come. Enjoy the puppy, and the rest will fall into suit. And don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions to people. I think it's a common theme of anyone just getting into upland hunting or anything. Just reach out to people. Ask. They're so willing to help and kind of steer you along. So anyways, FAQ section, that is a quick sneak peek of it. Any other questions you'd like to shoot me, shoot me a message. I'd love to compile a list and go over kind of a deeper dive on some of the more commonly asked questions. So anyways, one other thing before we jump into the podcast, kind of an update for the podcast, at least for this season of life right now. But between my work, family, coaching sports, that's it. Work, family, sports, and hunting and my dogs. Things have gotten a little bit crazy, a little busy, so I apologize. I've been kind of on an every other week podcast trend right now. I think that's kind of the direction I'm going to head for the foreseeable future. I just need to kind of balance some things out with life and work and all that kind of stuff. So a more manageable, sustainable thing for me is going to be going down to every other week podcast. I might surprise you and throw a bonus episode here or there, but just kind of want to let you know what to expect going forward. We're getting into Christmas here. Again, work schedule's crazy. My son's hockey team, things are ramping up there with a couple tournaments and things coming up. So anyways, just want to let you know what to expect. The springtime and summer, I could see going back to weekly. It's a little bit easier time for me to get these podcasts done in the evening. So anyways, bear with me. Thanks for your patience and just learning alongside me as I figure this out and balance family and all that good stuff. So I really appreciate it. But hey guys, I think that's about everything I wanted to cover. We're going to jump right into the episode. This is with Edgar Costillo from HuntBirdz. You may recognize him. He has a big presence on social media, does a lot of outdoor writing. You might have seen his stuff in Project Upland Magazine, Wyoming Wildlife Federation, all sorts of things. He has written some amazing pieces, and we dive in, unpack some of the pieces he's written, and really just get to know him a little bit more on a deeper level. And so I really, really enjoyed this conversation. So thanks to Edgar, and I hope you guys enjoy. Well, that's awesome. How's the season been for you so far? Doing all right?
It's been pretty good. Yeah. I thought I'd be hunting a little bit more just because of retirement, but other things always get in the way, or not in the way, but
Sure.
We've got family in town from Central America, so playing tour guide, even though they come here every year. But
yeah, you guys shuttle them around and.
Yeah, well, they're my parents, and then my daughter. My oldest. I've got two, so my oldest graduated, and she's in Florida, so she's been coming back, and she's working for an church ministries down there in Florida.
Oh, nice.
We're very involved in church, and
that's great.
Church and faith. Not to get onto that subject, but it plays a huge part in our family. So we've got that, and then my youngest is at K-State. They both went to K-State, but my youngest is coming back, and she's been working on some stuff. So just doing family stuff and getting out here and there. But other than that, it's been really pretty good. To get some trips in, and
that's good.
Hopefully here in a couple of days I'll be getting back out. So
well, that's great. Well, that worked there. I get the ministry thing in church, and I've been working in full-time ministry for I think 13 years now. So it's definitely a huge part of our life as well. So and did you go to a big writers conference not too long ago?
Yep. Just actually about a month ago to Vermont. My wife accompanied me, and so it was my first one. I just joined recently, earlier this year, so we went up there, and it was good. It was, just like any other profession, networking, meeting new people, figuring out, because I'm still trying to figure out this outdoor writing thing, and
I was going to ask what is it?
Grouse hunting, but it didn't work out. I don't know if you follow David Lemire.
I'm not sure if I do.
So. The Wild Huntsman podcast.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, he's in law enforcement, and so we have that connection. And I've been on his podcast a couple of times. So we were trying to connect, and I wanted to get into. I don't care if I shoot one. For me, if I do, that's great. But just to get out into the North Woods and experience that. But it didn't happen. But I'm definitely, we're already talking, we talk quite frequently, but I'm going to head back out there maybe next year and try to get a grouse hunt. But it was good. It was a good time. I've never been up to that part of the town. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was going to ask if you could expand a little bit, like what is an outdoor writers conference really? Is it just connecting with people? Like what's kind of entailed?
Just like any other craft improvement. They had seminars, breakout sessions. Cool. If you were a photographer, podcaster, outdoor. It encompasses the full spectrum of the term they use is outdoor communicator. So whether you run a blog, a website, podcaster, you were able to sign up for various classes.
Gotcha.
There was a lot of outdoor writing classes to actually apply what you had learned in the class, and then networking. And they had a panel of like 7 different editors / heads of different magazines and websites.
Wow. A
Q&A, so you can kind of see what they're looking for. And a lot of people walked away with assignments or future articles or stories. But it was good. I mean, it's just same as in law enforcement. You know, if I go to a tactical officers conference, you know, you're going to learn about different techniques and how to apply them. And
yeah, very cool. I had no idea there was such a thing now.
I didn't
that's
know.
Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, I would encourage anyone. There was several podcasters there with pretty good size audiences or have a lot farther reach. And so I'm going to be on a couple of those, but I would really encourage anyone to look into it as far as joining. The next one is in Casper, Wyoming. And I mean,
that's not far from me.
No, like I said, I've liked it. I think it's been very beneficial for me.
That's cool.
But we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to dive into that side a little bit more, talk about, you know, some of your writing and that whole journey. But before we get too far in, why don't we do 2 things? Introduce yourself, just give us a little overview of who you are, and first put us on the map. Where are you located?
Well, first off, my name is Edgar Costillo. I'm in Kansas City metro area. On the Kansas side, born in Central America. I think most people probably know from either listening to me or reading my bio, but I was born in Guatemala. Came here when I was a little boy, and didn't grow up hunting. My father obviously didn't hunt back home, and he was introduced by a neighbor of ours, and I tagged along as a young little kid, you know, following in his father's footsteps, and it just kind of grew from there. I was in law enforcement for 28 years at various levels, and served in the Marine Corps, and retired, and now I'm an outdoor writer.
That's awesome, man. That's great. I want to get into a little bit more. So your dad was introduced to someone, right? Hunting. Was that in where you were born? And then
here in Kansas.
Okay. Oh, here in Kansas. Okay. So you guys moved to Kansas. How old were you guys, or how old were you when you moved to the States?
When I first came here, I was like 2 or 3 years old.
Okay.
I left. My sister was born in Guatemala. And then we returned. And so, but like when I first started hunting was 10 years old. I was gone for, you know, a while, came back, and about 10 years old. It was our neighbor, Tom, was actually getting his decoys together to go out on a duck hunt. And my dad literally just walked over there and said, you know, hey, what are you doing? And I said, I'm getting my gear ready to go out. And a week later, my dad was on the shore of Hillsdale Lake, taking instruction from Tom on the fundamentals of duck hunt, and it just kind of struck a chord with my dad, and he's been doing it ever since. And then obviously that's how I got looped into it. Yeah.
Was hunting in Guatemala, was that even a thing? I mean, is there any kind of hunting there?
There is, but it's here it's for the most part recreational. I mean, you know as well as I do, a lot of us, whether we're small game, upland, big game, fishing, to feed our families, you know.
Sure. The price per pound is not a good value.
Yeah. In what it's not done for recreational. You know, it's smaller towns and villages, families that use it as a means to add to their food intake. So there are no. I guess I shouldn't say at the time there was no when my dad was growing up there was no rules, regulations, conservation enforced, or even if there were, I couldn't tell you. It was just not. There was large numbers of game that were being depleted, but it's still not a recreational. It's not a pastime.
It's just it's just not a big thing down there. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So your neighbor Tom gets your dad out into the duck blind. Where did kind of that passion start to ignite for you? Like, was it immediate? Did it kind of develop over time?
Yeah. Like I said, as most young boys or young kids, you especially as a young man, you wanted to be like your dad, and so I would see. I would walk over. Tom was next door, and I'd go over there and watch him, talk to my dad. And there was a language barrier, obviously, but my dad started figuring things out, and I just started just kind of also learning, little bits and pieces as far as just duck hunting, and then it just it just kind of grew from there. It really wasn't ignited until later in life. It was when I was younger. I just remember my dad, getting his stuff ready. I would sit downstairs. He'd clean my mom had bought him his first shotgun.
Nice.
And, I'd watch him get all his gear ready. And then, early in the morning, I would hear him leave. And I always wanted to go with him. I always, I would get up sometimes and just kind of see what he was doing, smelling the coffee in the morning, and then he would take off and then come, back later in the day. And I always wanted to do that, but because of my age and everything. But then I finally was invited, and that didn't last long because I couldn't sit still. I kept on asking questions.
Were you uninvited?
And complained about the cold because we were not used to, even at, still not used to cold weather. And so I would be subjected to the confines of the truck. So it was kind of like that for a while. And then, cars, best friends and girls came into the picture during junior high school and high school. And that kind of took priority. And then college. And then when I came back from the Marine Corps for my first deployment back, my dad asked me to go hunt. We went pheasant hunting. I shot a rooster. And from that point on, it was a Saturday morning, minutes after shooting light, I shot a big old rooster. And that just kind of started. And ever since then, it's been with me. And then it's grown, obviously, substantially as the years progressed.
Yeah. That's awesome, Edgar. Do you, has it, again, are you recently retired in the last year or so, or
exactly a year ago?
Okay. Well, congratulations first. That's exciting. Has it even grown more the more time you have now? Has it just been, has that passion ignited even more just with the extra time you've had?
No, not since I retired. It's grown, probably within the last 7 years, but even more so in the last 4. Since I started writing, it has changed. Not really changed, not my outlook or anything like that. But I've now integrated the writing, and I've seen not a different side, but just it's a little bit more personable to me now, even more so, just because I'm sharing the stories of my father. Because a lot of stuff that I write actually comes from him. But yeah, more. I would say that writing definitely.
Well, the writing piece probably just you're looking at it maybe through a different lens, right? Than you maybe normally would. It just brings another dimension into it.
Yeah, I just when I first started, I didn't think anyone would be interested in hearing or reading about. I think we probably all as hunters probably have similar stories, wanting to follow their father out in the woods or go fishing. But the lessons learned that, when I was out in the field or just watching my dad get things ready, they just always, stuck with me, and, in the hopes that it ignites something or some passion to someone else or some interest. And that's my ultimate goal as far as writing,
Sure.
But,
I was going to ask before I move on, have any of your kids gotten involved in the outdoors or hunting or anything like that?
No, we're an outdoor family. We're an outdoor family. So, hiking, when they were younger, but I took them dove hunting, but it not that they didn't like it. It's just,
it wasn't for them. And
they're young ladies now. I mean, they hike and camp a lot, but I didn't want to push it. But the times that we were able to go out into the dove field or just walk along, walk in the woods, they've always enjoyed it. But
that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Getting them outside and going for hikes and camping. That's some of the best memories I've had with my kids so far. They're little, but just, they're always begging to go camping and just be out there. And my 5-year-old right now, he's all about helping train dogs and pigeons and birds and all that stuff. So I think the seed's being planted right now, but we'll see how it develops.
I think it's so important, no matter what kind of outdoor discipline it is. But it played an important part in my life. So, and I think it has with my daughter. So
that's awesome. Before we move on, definitely want to talk into talk more about the writing side and all that. But how was your Colorado trip? You did a Colorado grouse trip here recently. How'd that go?
It was great. It was epic. We had a great time. We shot 5 out of we went for 4 species, ended up going after a total of 6, but we got 5 out of 6.
Okay. Congrats. That's awesome.
Met some new people, made some new friends. We've been communicating quite a bit. So it's going to be one of those lifelong friendships. Definitely. Got to see some new country and hunt new terrain.
Yeah. Have you ever hunted Colorado before?
No, I have not.
Okay. That's awesome. Because did you guys go after ptarmigan?
We did.
How was that?
It was different. To start off, I'm in pretty good shape for being 50 years old, as well as what I had to do for work.
Sure.
The positions that I held. And so rigorous hunting and getting after birds is not, it's not a big deal. But when we were told you guys may want to purchase some oxygen cans, I knew something was going to be, and they were taking, where we live at, compared to where we were going to be.
Yeah, that's a huge gain.
Yeah, I think here in Kansas City we're at 900, maybe 1,000.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
And then we go to almost 13.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I didn't get ptarmigan personally. One of my best friends, Dan, he did, and then one of our hosts, Dennis. They were able to get on quite a few birds. Okay. And so I was happy for both of them.
Well, even just to find those birds, that's a feat in itself.
Yeah. I was on one end or on the other side of this valley or this canyon. And, I was just, all the rocks were playing tricks on me because Dennis, our host, was telling us, you can just walk right past them.
Sure.
And you never know it just because of the camouflage. So I think I'd see a bird and it was actually a rock, but but the park ranger and the info from the biologist, we were told we could find them on the trail right there going in. And but that was not the case for me. But Dan and Dennis, they were close to 13,000 feet, like Jeez. Not a wide path of where they were standing when they got into Birdz. But
Okay.
it was cool. It was really neat to hunt in that type of terrain and that habitat.
Yeah, it's different for sure. It has a flavor of almost like a big game atmosphere because you're high elevation woods. It's just different. It's different.
Yep.
I've never chased ptarmigan. I've chased bluegrouse a couple times, mountain sharptail, but it's different for sure.
Yeah, we like I said, we took out oxygen cans, and then as soon as we got out of the truck and we had to go up another 1,500 feet, we quickly figured out how are we going to carry our shotguns as well as traverse, the mountainside. So lucky for me, I have a hunt ready vest. All of us did, except for Dennis. He had a backpack, but the vest that we had on, we figured out how to insert our shotguns, and they actually held up very
to kind of hold it as you hiked,
and then use our trekking poles to make our way up the mountain pathway.
Oh, that's smart. You guys, smart. You packed the trekking poles.
So
yeah, you could need those. And then, so what else? You guys, do you guys get into sage grouse and mountain sharptail as well?
Yep. Nice. Sage grouse, the 2-day season.
Yep, that's short. Short.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that short until we started doing our research. We got into duskies, got into a ton of snipe. We could have spent all day long shooting snipe.
Wow.
Some doves out in the sage flats, and the one that eluded us was the Colombian sharptail.
Okay.
We didn't see any, and we had solid intel, good information, general places to try and hunt, but we didn't see anything, and but we had a great time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, those sharptail eluded me this year as well out in the mountains. I don't know what it was. They were hiding well, I guess.
It was not what I was thinking of. I've never hunted sharptails before. I envision Nebraska, the Dakotas. And then when we got there and went to the places that we were told to try, it was, small mountains, knolls, and it was not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
The habitat, obviously, I was just thinking grasslands and maybe.
Have you hunted them in the grassland before, or just not at all?
At all, yeah, never.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a different picture regarding sharptails, but
sure,
we're definitely going back.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing. It sounds like a positive experience. Yeah, Sharpies have become probably my favorite to hunt right now. In the grasslands, I would say. Mountains are tough, man. I've lived in Colorado 6 years now, and doesn't matter. I mean, again, I'm in decent shape, I would say, and those mountains can kick your butt very quickly.
Yep. Yeah. They
really can. Well, that's awesome, Edgar. Let's jump into just some of the writing. Again, you mentioned maybe the past 7 or so years, you've kind of picked up this. What do you call it? Do you call it a hobby of writing, or like what ignited this for you?
It's always been in the back of my mind. I often say, when I was a little kid, when my dad was learning, there was a local gun shop here. And that's where my dad went to buy ammo and hunt licenses. And I always remember at that time, you walked in off to the left, there was always hunt magazines. And I specifically remember the Shooting Sportsman, Field and Stream Outdoor Life, and flipping through those. And, even as I've always been an avid reader. And even as I was growing up, I always envisioned or, dreamed of, man, one day I want to share my adventures and my stories. And I think, like most of us, probably think that it's unattainable, for various reasons. And then about 4 years ago, I had the opportunity, and I've been writing ever since. And I've been so lucky, so blessed to meet a lot of people and and especially I'm not actively seeking other magazines or outlets. A lot of it is just, hey, we've been following you, and are you interested in writing something up? So it's been really fun, and I'm sharing my adventures as well as my stories and my father's lessons learned from the field. So
yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned you get a lot of your writing from your father. Are you kind of I guess my question, were you writing, way back when you were hunting with your dad when you were younger, or are you just kind of recalling, memories, trips, and things that you guys would do and kind of pulling those out?
Just things that just kind of stuck with me. Obviously for work, I had to write, you have to write investigative reports, and I was always a very good report writer. And it just, when I was asked to do it, I didn't know what to write, and I just kind of fell back on outings with my dad, and just like I said, just things that he taught me. And some of the stuff that I write is not exciting or sexy per se. It's how to cross a fence. It's because my dad, when I was growing up and following him along, and he would sit down and show me gun safety and these lessons that he was taught and he wanted to pass on to me. And they, a lot of the times that we were out there, these things that I write about is that's how my dad hunted, and that's what I knew. So that's how I hunt, or whether it's tactics or tips, those things were passed on to me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that's needed too. When I started getting into upland hunting and trying to do research, there wasn't a ton out there. Like, again, it might not be these monumental things, but those simple things like like you said, crossing a fence or shotgun safety, things like that, to have that content written down, and for new hunters to be able to, one, get excited about and read some cool stories, but also some of those things that are just practical that it's nice to be able to reflect back on and actually read.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, when I first started, Project Upland they've been really great about allowing me to pitch these ideas. And at first, almost every single one that I send in, I believe at some point I'm going to get told, hey, this is just not exciting, or this is just a very mundane topic. And then, it's turned around and say, hey, this is great. This is, very unique. There's not a whole lot of that out there. And so I quickly figured out there was a small niche by me sharing those stories and those things that I was taught.
Yeah. Are you writing just for PU right now, or are you writing for other magazines, or?
I've got, I write for Wyoming Wildlife Federation, which is a nonprofit similar to Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, the Sage Grouse Initiative, and Rough Grouse Society, organizations such as that, dealing with conservation issues in Wyoming specifically. I've written for the Rough Grouse Society, Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever.
Okay.
I just had my first piece for Strong. And I've got something coming out for Hunt to Eat.
Oh, nice.
Here in the next couple of weeks. Some stuff for our local Kansas DNR magazine.
Okay. Wow, you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. How'd you get connected with the Wyoming Wildlife Federation? Because I know you've done a lot of writing for like Sage Grouse Initiative and all that kind of stuff. How'd you get connected down that path?
We've been hunting Wyoming for the last 2-3 years. And so they reached out to me about 2 years ago to share some insight or personal story. And so I wrote about our first trip. And like I said, it's really nothing super exciting. It's just, how we Kansas Flatlanders traveled to Wyoming and our adventures, in big open sage country, chasing this bird that is under the radar, or not under the radar, but the focus of a lot of conservation issues. And I felt like I needed to share our story before the opportunity to hunt sage grouse maybe comes to a close. So I wrote that. That was my first piece, and then after that, they asked if I wanted to write a couple more, and so I've been writing about one every year. I wrote a Teddy Roosevelt and his connection, a historical piece. Then I did one on wing collection and the importance of that, and then another one recently on eating sage grouse. So all based on personal hunts there in Wyoming every time we've gone.
That's very cool. With the whole sage grouse thing, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. With sage grouse, do you, just your personal thoughts, do you feel is it on a downward trend still in Wyoming, or do you think it's getting better, or do you think?
I don't. We've done very well when we've gone to Wyoming. We see a lot of birds, so I can't really base. If I was to base it on the number of birds that we get into and numbers of birds that we shoot, limits or close to limits, that I would say it to me and our group, it appears that sage grouse are on an upward trend or maintaining a good population. But I'm sure you've seen or read
you hear
a lot of the material out there. A lot of people are saying that the habitat is being affected, and the loss of habitat, other conservation issues. I don't see it. I'm not saying that it's not happening. It's just when we go out there, it's just
what you're seeing on the ground is different.
Yeah, but I've talked to enough people. Biologists and game wardens that we use when we go up there to find out where to go or the best places, and they're telling us, you may want to hunt sage grouse, if you have the opportunity, because you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. The following year or so. So
sure, that's awesome. I chased sage grouse in Colorado here for the first time ever. They eluded me, but it was a blast. It was fun being able to just. Even didn't get a shot at one, but just being able to chase them, that was something fun to say I was able to do.
Well, we'll have to try to get together next year, and then when we come out to, and that was one of the main reasons actually was why we chose Colorado, because we were told that the season is being looked at right now, and there may not be one. Compared to Wyoming, which, it may take a couple years.
Sure. To get there.
But Colorado is more on the forefront of that season being closed.
Yeah. No, I can imagine.
The reason why we went out there.
Yeah. That's awesome. One more thing on the writing side I wanted to touch on. Can you walk me through more? So I'm just curious. I think some of the listeners might be curious. Walk me through your writing process for something. So say you're writing a news story. So not something that's, with your dad or childhood. Do you have a process for writing a story when you sit down and go, hey, I'm going to put this piece out for PU or whatever magazine? Do you have a process?
Not really per se. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that I write, whether it's how to cross fences, I wrote one on pheasant call. There's always a connection to my father. Okay. Most of the time.
Sure.
If I'm writing those how-tos or tips. But I just kind of recall, from memory, and talk to my dad to verify, that's what happened.
There you
go. And then, like I said, I just kind of start writing, and if I try to infuse other aspects, I talk a lot about a history kick. So if there is a history element to it, I do research. I go to libraries. I try to find old hunt magazines. I've been getting a lot of topics from old hunt magazines, and talked and interviewed people, and try to get some old photographs to go along with the article. And my wife has a journalism background, so I'll tap into her for some info and feedback, and then from there, like I said, just kind of pitch it. And I think I have a pretty eclectic articles, diverse, different topics, from how-tos of history to just personal stories. So,
yeah, that's fantastic. Have you, just a personal question, have you ever thought about putting this into a book someday, or do you really enjoy the article side?
I like the article side. I think the book would be too frustrating. I met too many actual book writers, authors at the recent Outdoor Writers Conference I went to, and I couldn't even imagine filling up 200 pages. I don't even know if people are reading the stuff that I'm putting out now. So why, I don't know if they would be interested in reading 200 pages of my mission.
Hey, you never know. People could surprise you.
Yeah. Right.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that historical side too. That was one of the things I wanted to touch on. And I didn't have a rhyme or reason, but I've just seen you've pulled out, at least from social media, I've seen you pull out some cool historical pieces, some photos, and I just thought that's a kind of a cool thing that I think I can miss sometimes. When you're researching upland or hunting, I think reflecting back on that historical side of how things originally were, or where we started. It's just kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah. That kind of just happened by accident. Like I said, I read a lot. I enjoy history. So, and I wasn't even looking for a topic to write on. I actually came across, I came across an old menu from a restaurant here in Kansas City, which is still open. It's the oldest, longest surviving restaurant west of the Mississippi.
Wow.
The Savoy. And it was an old ad, or a reproduction of an old ad, and it talks about Teddy Roosevelt and other well-known famous individuals that would come to the Savoy to eat prairie chicken. And this was like early 1900s. And it just kind of, I kept on thinking about it. And so I just started doing research. I called the Savoy, and then I started doing some digging around on the internet, and I started finding bits and pieces of some very interesting numbers and facts and market hunting. And so that started my kickoff on that. And then from there, I've been coming across all these little interesting tidbits of information, and that's morphed into all these different stories.
Yeah, that's so cool. That is so cool. I love that. Yeah. What's that restaurant called? Just curious.
The Savoy.
The Savoy. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
They don't serve prairie chicken no more.
What? They don't serve prairie chicken? What?
But yeah, it was the place to be. And then Mark Twain was a big, I didn't know he was a bird hunter, That's one of those things that I discovered. He loved when he was in Europe. He was in Europe for a while, and when he was asked about the food, you think of European, French cuisine,
sure.
Italian, Spanish, most people that visit speak of the food. And he didn't like it. He thought it wasn't good. And when he was coming back to the United States, he wrote a long list of items that he wanted to eat upon his return to the United States. And all those items, 4 were of game birds. It was canvasback ducks, prairie chicken, grouse, and quail.
Wow.
And and he also mentioned turkey. And then that caught my interest. I did some research, and that's how I ended up writing that article on Mark Twain and his bird hunting connection.
That's fascinating. I'll have to go read that. I don't think I saw that one. That's awesome, man. Well, we're touching on Kansas, so let's go to Kansas for a little bit. I kind of want to just touch on each of the bird species in Kansas, upland birds. And first off, let's start with the prairie chicken. And when I don't know why, but when I think of prairie chicken, I think of you. And is that just because is that your favorite bird to hunt? And is it just talk about the prairie chicken, your love for this bird, and we'll go from there.
The prairie chicken was my favorite bird. My favorite bird tends to change about every single time I start chasing a new bird.
Okay.
But the prairie chicken was at the top of my list for ever since I was introduced to them about maybe 12 years ago. But a bird of the open, open grasslands, big open country. Kansas' only grouse now, because we used to have sharp tails. But it's a tough bird to hunt. I think besides scale quail in Kansas, I get the other question that I get is about prairie chicken hunting, and two types of hunting. Basically, early season, you walk up birds with dogs, and then late season, you find a place where they're either coming in or going out to feed or roost, and you set up kind of like your duck or dove hunting, and you pass shoot them.
Okay.
I hunt them like I do early season. I in the late season, I just know where they're at.
Yeah.
And I have a decent knack of finding them, and I get into quite a few prairie chickens, and but yeah, it's a little bit different hunting. It's not, corn, Milo, unless you come across them feeding, but it's you're walking a lot. You're putting in miles to find one bird.
Sure. Yeah, I can attest to that. Are they pretty consistent on location from early to late season, or are they moving pretty far in your experience?
No, if you come across prairie chickens, I would say, whatever means that you use to mark those areas, whether it's on X or, writing down notes and on an actual, atlas or a map or a journal, keep those close to you, because for the most part, they're going to be there unless someone comes in and just completely decimates them or shoots them out or puts a lot of pressure on them. But in my experience, in the 15 years that I've been hunting, there are areas that I hunt every year, and they're always there. And new places that I find, I mark them. And the recent two places that I found, I know that they've been there for years, so I know next year.
Sure.
I mean, they're not going to be exactly at your pin, the pin,
but general
50, 100 yards. I mean, in the the general area, they're going to be there.
Yeah. Are they? Yeah. Are they not really then edge birds? Would you say? Are they more that they need that large grassland area?
Yeah, they do. I mean, we do kick them up along the fence lines, just because depending on what the habitat, they want a high point, because they want to see what's coming after them to eat them.
Okay.
So we hunt a lot of ridges, leeward sides of hills. I mean, I'm trying to think if I've ever come across one, on a low end of a piece of a property, but they're always on the top of hills, or ridges.
Okay.
But not necessarily edge birds.
Sure.
Kansas chickens, it may be, I've never had chickens up in the Dakotas, so it may be completely different. Birds that I'm chasing here in the Flint Hills or Smoky Hills, they are bird of the open grassland, large tracts of land. Yeah. At some point, they've got rolling hills or some, a little bit of elevation.
Gotcha. Okay. And then do you know much of, because there's the greater and the lesser.
Correct.
Which one can you not hunt there in Kansas?
The lesser.
The lesser. Okay. So, and that's just in that lower southwest corner, right?
Southwest corner. Kansas puts out a map, a diagram with the no hunting prairie chicken zone. Mm-hmm. And it's a pretty good sized swath of land. And there are graders that are overlapping, but, obviously they don't want, you can't identify one in mid-flight,
Sure.
Lessers are going to be smaller birds. They're a little bit lighter coloration as far as the barring. Okay. It'd be very easy to misidentify a young of the year greater, that hasn't gotten full plumage.
Sure.
And shoot one of those instead.
Yeah. Do you know, has that area been closed for a long time? Like, is the plan to hopefully reopen that someday, or is it just closed forever?
I hope so. I actually hunted them down in the Cimarron grasslands when the season was open. There was a season open for lessers. And so the southwest corner, as you mentioned, was one of the primary places within the state to find lessers. I never shot one, but I came across them when we were hunting scale quail. Yeah. And then 10 years ago, after research and identifying that the numbers were dwindling, that's when they closed the season. The last several years, the guys that I hunt with, our small group, we run into a lot of lesser. Now, they could be graders, but where we are at, you
kind of feel like they're lessers.
Well, when we're flushing them, I mean, they're like popcorn. They're everywhere. They're a little bit smaller bird, and late season, so it's not like they haven't grown.
Sure.
We're pretty confident that what we're coming across from lessers, we're seeing them. I mean, we're talking like hundreds of birds.
Really?
Over a couple of days, and then I've talked to other bird hunters and deer and pronghorn hunters out west that are saying the same thing, as they're out hunting and they're working these ridge tops, and they're just small football sized birds that are just flushing everywhere. So
so hopefully they're coming back in good numbers and maintaining.
Yeah, I heard this year that the numbers are increasing, so maybe they will reevaluate at some point, and maybe Kansas will have a lesser prairie chicken. The minimum is 2 for graders, and it was 2 back when it was open. So maybe they may lessen that to that one, and maybe just have like a week or 2.
Yeah, short season you can chase them. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. And let's move on to scaled quail. I know you guys would you say a good population of scalies?
A small.
Okay.
Definitely huntable. You got to put in your work. They run just like they do down in New Mexico and Arizona, because I've hunted them down there too. But small population down in the southwest corner. Cimarron grasslands is one of the main areas where you can find them, and they are very dependent on water, rain, habitat. And so if you've got some good rains, you're probably going to have a pretty good hatch, and your chances would increase. I would guess. But
gotcha.
I've shot them, but it's been a while. They're a tough bird to hunt.
What's their habitat like? Is it? I've never been down to the Cimarron, never chased them. So is it? Because New Mexico, Arizona, you hear about kind of desert bird. So what are they? What's their habitat in Kansas?
A desert grassland. I mean, we've got cholla cactuses. We've got yucca cactuses. You're not going to look around and think that you're in Arizona or New Mexico. Obviously, you don't have a bunch of cactuses,
sure.
Everywhere. But we do have, like as I said, the cholla cactuses and yucca plants. Desert. Grass, short grass, rolling hills, but that's what you're going to be hunting. We're looking for structure regarding old farm trash piles, They like to sit on top of those and use that as like a cubby base.
Okay.
Water tanks, windmills, anything like that. We kind of gravitate towards. Obviously we're looking for sign, but the ones that I shot, they were, in grass about 5 inches tall.
Okay.
And it was, obviously there was cattle being grazed on it because you could tell, but
sure.
Different habitat than Arizona, New Mexico, but think of short grass, rolling hills. Yeah. Big open country.
Where you're hunting scalies, will you find bobs mixed in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There in Kansas, in that part, there's the Cimarron River is the main water source that kind of cuts the Cimarron grasslands in half. The bobwhite quail are typically found within the river corridor. And then the scale or blue quail are going to be on north and south of the river corridor. Okay. We have come across some bobwhites out into the desert grasslands, but not rare. We've never come across bobs and blues, rather close to each other, but
gotcha.
Definitely I could see the overlapping depending on where you were hunting at and the type of terrain and habitat. Okay.
Very cool. Last one we'll touch on, and more so for this year. I think most people are familiar with the iconic, I guess, rooster pheasant. What's kind of the outlook this year? Are you excited for pheasants and quail season this year? Like, how are things looking?
I am. We've been hearing a lot of good reports, not only from what KDWP, the Canada Department of Wildlife and Parks, recently put out, saying it was going to be a good year. They had a good hatch, both for actually the outlook for pheasants, quail, and chickens is looking very promising, as well as reports that I've gotten from friends, landowners, farmers, ranch hands that are dispersed throughout the state that I know. They've been telling me that they've been seeing quite a few birds. So I think it's going to be a good year. We've gotten a lot of rains. So I think no matter where you go, if you put in a little bit of work and scout, I think you're going to get into birds. Quail numbers have been up for the last 5 years, just crazy numbers, at least where we go and where we hunt. You're talking multiple double-digit coveys some points, depending on where you're hunting at. But hunters coming here or state hunters, you're going to get into some good numbers.
That's fantastic. No, I'm excited. Kansas, I've probably said this on another podcast. Kansas kind of kicked my butt last year. I only spent chasing chickens as well, 3 days, I think. So I know it wasn't a ton of time, but I was in good walking areas, which you guys have a ton of it, by the way. You have some great walking program. I saw a couple hens here and there, but the birds just, I don't know. They were sneaky.
Were you in the central or western?
About north central last year. The first day I was west, pretty close to the border, Colorado. So that was the first day. Then I moved further east, and good habitat. I mean, every field I was in, I was excited, pumped up. A couple hens here and there. This year might be different.
Did you go early or late season?
I went. I think I did it was an early January trip, so late season. Yeah. I am. You can walk into a field and they can just scoot out the back end and exactly.
There could be.
Yeah, I was talking with someone else on a podcast recently, and we have to admit there's a part of luck too. There's a part of luck that we all have to have, and some days it's not going to be there. So,
well, I think we've mentioned it a couple times, but if you come back out to Kansas, let's try to hook up. And,
definitely.
I'll get you on some birds. I may blindfold you if we go to per chicken spots, but understandable. Roosters and bobs, I'll share a couple places, and all I hunt is public land. So
that's awesome. I want to get into dogs a little bit. So is it my understanding you don't run dogs, correct?
Right.
Your own.
I don't own a dog.
You don't own a dog. Okay.
No, I don't.
So, which that has to be kind of cool then, because the people you're hunting with, I imagine, are running dogs, right?
Yeah.
Majority of the time. So you've probably gotten to see quite a variety, I would say, of breeds and dogs. Do you have any kind of, I guess, standout memories or experiences with some of the different breeds you've hunted over?
Yeah, I gotta watch what I'm gonna say because I know my best friends are gonna be listening to this at some point, and I rave about their dogs. But my biggest memory, I've spoken about it, but not in detail. So we had Brittany's when I was growing up, and labs. So I do have experience hunting behind dogs as an owner, but because of work and deployments and whatnot, it was just not conducive for me to have a bird dog. But a friend of mine who was also kind of in a similar position, not being able to go out and demand a demanding job, had a Vizsla. And so a lot of people, right when I first started Instagram about 5.5 years ago, a lot of people thought this Vizsla Staley was my dog. And even when we hunted together, strangers and people that I would meet in the field, because she just listened to me. I traveled to Nebraska, Missouri, other states with her. She was a great bird dog. Sure. And so I'd pick her up. She'd listen to me. I mean, she acted very much like she was we were very close. I got hurt. I had a medical emergency on the field and she wouldn't leave my side. And so there was a strong bond there. So I would say that Staley, hunting behind Staley, has been the most memorable for me, hunting behind a Vizsla. But I've hunted behind GSPs and Labs, Brittany's. I got to throw, German wire hair. I got to throw in my best friend, they're draughts. Sure. I've discovered draught owners are a different breed of people. They're very opinionated about their dogs. And Macy and Abby, Dan's dogs, they're great. They're versatile dogs. I mean, they'll do everything, waterfowl, upland, as well as track deer and small game if you're into that. But I've hunted behind a lot of different dog breeds, and it's been kind of cool to see how they work differently in the field, flushers, retrievers, and pointers. So I've been very fortunate to have that experience. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yes. My mind just went blank on so this begs the question. Do you think you'll ever pick up your own dog? Yes, I was hoping that I would have one right now. Long story short, I was going to get a dog from one of my buddies, but a draught. But I was contacted by I was a Marine. I was contacted by a fellow Marine. He was not doing very well health wise, and he had a Brittany. I had a Brittany. The Brittany's name was named after a Marine that won the CMH, the Congressional Medal of Honor. The owner's name was Edgar. There was a lot of connections there. And so him and his family wanted it. They were going to sell it or give it. They wanted a veteran to have it. So I was set. I went to see the dog several times. I had videos and photos of the dog on a weekly basis. It was a starter dog. This is the draught or this is the Brittany? It was a Brittany. Okay. And then the gentleman got sick or became even more ill. And I haven't heard back as far as what happened. Sure. And I've sent emails out. My primary focus is to make sure that he it's doing okay. He didn't succumb to anything bad. You know? So hopefully I hear back something. It's been several weeks, but we'll see what happens with that. If something does or would have happened, or I don't get contacted, then I'm going to start looking again for a dog.
Yeah.
I want to have my own bird dog and go out. I go out by myself a lot anyway, but I'm always with my buddies, my best friends. But there's something missing, and I want to fill that void.
Yeah, definitely. Have you kind of landed on the Brittany as your dog you want to pick up, or are you still looking at different breeds?
I think it's going to go versatile. I went with the Brittany when the opportunity arose, just because there were so many similarities with my childhood and my profession, and there was so I just felt like that was a sign from above saying, you need to get this dog. But if it doesn't work out, if I don't hear nothing, I think I'm going to go with a versatile dog, just because I duck hunt, and just working and hunting behind dogs like Macy and Abby. I know what they can do and what they're capable of. Yeah, they have a really good demeanor. So
that's awesome. Well, I highly recommend the Brittany. So, but I am a little biased.
Like I said, we had Brittany's when we were when I was growing up. That was the first dog. I've never asked my dad why he chose the Brittany as his first bird dog. We had a lab as well, but I need to ask him that. We had King. He was a good bird dog, and I loved hunting behind Brittany's.
Hey, maybe a new story there. Why your family chose a Brittany? Yeah. Just a couple more things, Edgar, as we wrap up here. I was going to ask you this in the beginning, actually, which I thought this was kind of cool. Can you talk a little bit about your recent decal project that you put out? You wrote a little piece about the decal. This is kind of a fun one, but I thought that was pretty cool. Can you talk about that a little more?
It's funny that you brought that up again. Going back, I try to come up with some different topics to write about, and this was actually, it was a fun little thing to do. I think like most of us, at least bird hunters, fishermen, outdoorsmen, we compile a huge gamut of upland decals that almost everyone ends up being made and selling, or companies have them to promote their products, and conservation groups put them out. And I just, there's only so many I could put on the back of my window, and so I literally sat down like, man, I got to do something with this, because there's some cool artwork, and I want to display them. And so my wife and she kind of helped me, and she got on Pinterest, and she kind of came up with the idea, and I just kind of put it down on paper, and I actually put it together, and that's pretty much it. And now it's in my garage, and it actually looks really good. And I got a lot of positive feedback, a lot of great comments, especially fathers saying, hey, I'm going to do this with my kid, with my boy, and we're going to do this. We've got a whole bunch of decals, and we're going to, it's $10 maybe to put it together, and we're going to put it in our garage or their man cave. And when they get a new one, they slap it on, and if it fills up, you flip it over on the other side or add another one. But that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Again, it's one of those kind of simple things, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing that, and just the creativity behind it. Because a lot of people, I have some of my deck drawer system on my truck, but I'm running out of room, and I got a drawer full of a bunch here in my garage. So,
like I said, it was a fun. I didn't know how serious I was going to be taken when I pitched this, but Sporting Classics said, this is great. This is a simple do-it-yourself, winter or summer project if you're stuck indoors, or something you can do with your kids. And it turned out fine. So
that was really fun.
More down the road.
Well, that was really fun. Last question I'll ask you before we jump into the rapid fire section at the end. for the new hunter out there, for the new upland hunter, even waterfowl hunter, I don't care, who's listening to this, maybe they're heading into their first season coming up here, upland hunting. Maybe they just picked up their first bird dog. What's some advice you'd give that person out there listening?
I would say first, the foremost thing, most important thing is read as much as you can. Do a lot of information gathering. Find a mentor if you so they can show you the ins and outs of hunting. Reading is fine, and you can put a lot of that, in your memory bank, but actually applying it when you got someone out there walking with you saying, this is the cover that quail like, and this is what a rooster's are going to do if you pressure it. I think that's the most important thing. And I think that comes from my dad when he was being instructed and taught about, upland bird hunting. And then he passed that down on to me. But I find someone that has a little bit of experience and knowledge, and then go with them and read as much as you can about whatever game you're pursuing.
That's really good. That's really good. I'm going to take that a step deeper. I think that's really solid advice. Do you have any advice on, I get questions all the time. People ask me, how do I find that mentor? How do I get to that step of that again? Because I think that mentor piece is so helpful. Reading, gathering, that's huge. But like you said, having someone, out in the field with you, experiencing it is a kind of another level. Do you have any advice on just how do you get to that point in the process?
Well, hopefully, hopefully there's someone that of, whether it's a family member or a close friend that grew up hunting that you could tap into. Other than that, I would say, join or get involved in an outdoor organization. Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever. I mean, networking. Yeah. Whether it's Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation or Trouts Unlimited, whatever you're into. Those groups are going to be full of people that have a lot of knowledge, experience, and may probably access to provide, interested people. And then I would throw in social media, even though, I've met a lot of people here locally in the Kansas City area that just reach out to me and said, hey, I've read one of your articles. I've never upland bird hunted. Let's get together over lunch. And now we're very close friends. Aaron Woodward, who's started writing, and then JB, a retired lieutenant colonel. They were brand new bird hunters, and we met. And now, we talk every day, and we hunt. And they've joined our group, and I've taken them out, showing them, this is how it's done, and you don't have to have, the fancy bird vests and, just minimal equipment,
Sure.
There's always a progression in everything. But yeah, social media is a good outlet to find someone nearby, or at least just, even if they're across the country, just, hey, I've got a question. And if you can meet, that's even better.
Sure. That's fantastic. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Rapid fire round. We'll close up with this couple questions for you. Just give me your off the cuff answer. Some of these I may ask you to explain a little bit further, but for most part, here we go. What gun are you carrying out into the field with you?
12 gauge Ruger Red Label.
12 gauge. Okay. Is that your go-to, or have you been shooting it for a long time?
Ever since my dad passed it down to me about 7 years ago. It was off limits for 20 years because he wouldn't let me touch it or hold it or shoot it.
Okay.
And he gave it to me 7 years ago, and that's what I shoot pretty much for everything.
Okay, fantastic. One thing we didn't get into, maybe we'll do another podcast, is again the gun shop. Do you do some writing for the Olaf Gun Shop, right?
No, I work there 1 or 2 days a week.
Okay. You post some pretty pictures of some pretty shotguns. So
yeah, if you're ever in the area, you got to stop by.
Okay.
Or if any of your listeners have them reach out to me, and if I'm there, I'll give them a quick tour.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a really cool shop. You will not find these kind of gun shops around the country.
It,
know,
it yeah, it looks pretty darn cool. Yeah, it looks awesome. Okay, we've kind of touched on this, but if I had to pin you down and say favorite dog breed that you've hunted over, what would you say?
The Draught.
The Draught. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Vizsla.
It was a Vizsla because of Staley.
Okay. Of the personality.
Because of her. But just the versatility of the Draught. Just Dan's dogs. They're amazing. They're good. They're good bird dogs.
Okay. All right. Favorite bird to hunt? Just pick one.
I would say this year it would have to be the woodcock. And I've been hunting woodcock for 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Ever since I've gotten into them, they're close by. I just found out that they're in Missouri.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go, Midwest, Wisconsin, Minnesota or something.
Nope.
Okay.
And that's, another thing, maybe on another podcast, but there's just so many birds out there that I think a lot of people miss within their own state. Scale quail is an excellent example. But yeah, I mean, I want to go to up north to hunt woodcock, but
sure,
there are a lot of woodcock here next door.
Really?
Not in Kansas, but even next door in Missouri that, it just shows that you don't have to drive.
Sure.
Across the country.
10 hours. Yeah. That answer surprised me, honestly. That surprised me.
They're a fun bird to hunt. I just shot a limit last week and I'm going to hopefully get out again here pretty soon. But yeah, I'd say woodcock right now. That's
awesome. We'll have to chat about that later. Couple more here. This one's probably going to be hard for you, I'm guessing, but favorite article you have personally written and why?
I'll give you two. As far as like a how-to, I think my favorite one was a pheasant call. Stemming from my dad. My dad bought a pheasant call. I wrote about it. It's something that you don't see a whole lot of people utilizing, but I thought it was a fun article. As far as my favorite personal story that I've written, I would probably say the making of a bird hunter. I wrote for a European journal, Pursuit International Magazine, and it pretty much tells a story of how my dad got involved in the upland bird hunting and how it evolved into me getting into it as well, and then growing up and having it such a major part of my life.
That's awesome. Thank you. Last one, beverage of choice after a hunt.
This is not going to be, I don't drink. So this is going to be really,
that's okay.
I drink water and milk. That's all I drink. So,
are you drinking milk after a hunt or just generally?
Depends on if I bring it, but water with a lemon in it. I mean, that's what I order everywhere I go, and
I love it.
It's pretty. It's not exciting. Pretty boring.
You're not the first guest to say water. I've had a couple of the Arizona guys I've interviewed said water. The milk surprised me, but
you can throw in orange juice. Water, milk, and orange juice is what I drink. That's pretty much all I drink. So
hey, healthy for you. That's for sure. Well, that's awesome, Edgar. If people have questions for you, want to follow along, is Instagram the best way to connect with you?
Instagram at hunt_birds, BIRDZ. I have an email in my profile. I get a lot of emails. I answer back pretty quickly if I'm not out hunting, but I really enjoy answering questions or helping anyone out. So they can direct message me, email me. I have a Facebook called HuntBirdz as well. Just reach out. And if there's a question or something that I could do for anyone, I'll try my best to help them out, or at least point them in the right direction of where they need to go or who to talk to.
Fantastic. Well, Edgar, thank you so much, sir. I've really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more and just chatting bird dogs. And now I gotta go get my kids to school and get on with our day.
Well, I appreciate you having me on as a guest, and I hate talking about myself because I don't think I have an interesting a story. But if I can help someone in the long run, that's great. If someone gets a couple things out of this episode, that's great. And again, like I said, thank you for having me on here, and hopefully we can connect out in the field and keep this line of communication open. And like I said, if there's anything I can do in any way, just let me know. Shoot me a text, email, or give me a phone call. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, sir. I find your story very interesting. So keep up what you're doing, and I'd love to get out there with you. So thanks again, Edgar.
Yep. Have a good day, and like I said, keep in touch, and let's try to get something going this season.
Will do. You take care.
All right. Take it easy.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, well, that is a wrap of episode 31. Edgar, thank you once again, sir. I just really enjoyed our conversation. Thanks for taking the time to sit down with me, share your passion, share more about your writing. And hey, I'm excited for your bird dog. Sounds like it might be close. Hey guys, thanks once again, Trinity Bretons, Eukanuba Sporting Dog, Gunner Kennels, and Pointer Traditions for sponsoring this show. Guys, don't forget, leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Really would help the show get out there to more hunters and bird dog lovers just like you. Hey guys, have fun and have a safe time in the field this week if you're getting out there chasing birds, and just enjoy it. Enjoy your bird dog. Enjoy the time with your friends and your family. And remember, if you are not lucky enough to hunt with or own a Brittany, any bird dog is better than no bird dog. Go put some miles on those boots and have fun.